Greetings, this is Ra, connecting with you from a timeline near you. Don't be disturbed or alarmed by what I wear is the Emperor's new clothes. It's to inspire, the idea of what we are inspiring with ourselves. That's why I'm wearing this. So can we move that to the side? Once I have my own insignia, I'll wear my own insignia for the Ascension initiative. As in the Ascension Contact Initiative, ACI, coming soon. Now the topic today is from a time traveler's perspective and the complexity of what that actually means. And I hover between my future self and my former self. Seamless, back and forth for you to see, for you to witness. So it'll sound strange, it'll sound weird, but bear with me and listen to the concept. So let's say there's an Earth 1 that's based on the left brain, and there's an Earth 2 that's based on the right brain. In order to harmonize and bring the two planets back together, we need to harmonize our brain and bring the brain back together in a very fast time, because we're kind of a little bit behind. So imagine one Earth is here, the other Earth is here, and it's doing this. We are meeting ourselves, so our future selves. The reason why I'm doing this video is I had made contact with my futuristic version. I met myself in the future. I wore a suit kind of like, similar like this. I can't really decipher the symbol. Maybe it'll be a match to what I'm creating right now. In white. My favorite color is blue. That's why I'm wearing blue. So, and I looked at myself, and I don't know how it was. I was on Earth, but all of these ships appeared, and all of these ships had windows like bubbles into other realities, and beings looked out of these windows at us, and I was thinking, it's not extraterrestrials. These are, how'd you say, neighbors. And they are all time travelers. They are all interdimensional, ultra-dimensional. A concept we have yet to wrap our noodle around. So I explained to you what the concept and the principle is as far as I can data stream that from myself, from the future. So the complexity of time streaming is that you're here. This is the ultimate connector part. So let's say I'm streaming from probable timeline here. Let's say I'm talking to a council that is placed here. They talk to me through this here, not through a machine. They use the telepathic streams of a quantum field, which is the outer realm, not visible to the naked eye, that surrounds us and connects us all. But you have to know what vibratory frequency to be on in order even to access that. Many people, so we have psychedelic adventures, but no access. It is not what you seek outside, it is not the substance, it is the axis of the brain and the activity of the DMT, dimethyltryptamine, the capacity to expand your pineal gland without losing your mind, tryptamine, tryptophan, serotonin, melatonin, endorphins, the entire regulatory system for you to make contact. Also, know that your blood is an interdimensional navigator. In the ancient times, you can come and go as you pleased. When the slave body contraption was created, you were trapped in the vessel with all types of spells, as in program contingency plans to prohibit the expansion of the self. So the in and out of this planet is a very complex system, as in birth and death, which is an illusion. You don't really die. The problem is memory retainment. Cosmic long-term memory distortion has occurred on this planet. For those who read the material of the Law of One, they talk about this distortion is there's a distortion in the time field of Earth since the wars that came from Mars and other planets that were waged by many of us that are here and many that come and go want to fix that error. There is interference from Earth more than from the other planets with beings, humanoid, kind of off government, not really government. I believe that the government doesn't even have a clue to actually who's interfering and who's coming and going. They have partial technology of cloaking and hopping from here to there, but they're not quite as equipped as the royals. That's where you have Arcturians, Syrians, Pleiadians, like all of these groups. And these are, how would I put it, time travelers, such as the Zeta, which are more like a race that is created to serve humanoid beings. They're not leaders, they're actually serving. And the problem is, from the future, to project yourself with an entity ship is a complicated thing. You have to understand that each human is connected to a timeline coordinate and a time reference point. So when the outer ships come in to make contact, the calculations are of tremendous importance not to distort the time field as the unfoldment begins in this ascension process. That is for you to be contacted at in an appropriate measure. And I want to put this like into a tale where, and take it with a grain of salt because it's for your understanding. Let's say if you were a time traveler and you are the future version of yourself, now taking the equation of your ego, of what you want, out of you and bringing the divine will of what you need back into you, how would you contact yourself? So I can only describe of what I would do. I would strategize very carefully not to interfere with the airspace in a way that I can be detected. So I need forms and matters of contact that doesn't involve equipment. It involves the human body, which is the highest technology on the planet that you have to serve the consciousness right now is the human body. Make no mistake, it's not limited. It's the mind and how it perceives the body to be is the thing that's limited. The mind is the programmer, but the programmer is not the actual divine law or lore that makes happen. So the programming aspect is just to serve this vehicle, just as a diving suit if you go in underwater. Now imagine this is a dimensional diving suit. It is not actually equipped to travel from here to Mars in a tin can. That is a false belief system. Certain aspects of the human collective consciousness need time to understand. You can't put somebody in an oxygen tank, cryogenic stasis, fly for 20 or 30 years to explore planets. Preferably, it kind of blocks the expansion of consciousness and exploration of other star systems. So hence, there are races out there that have developed time travel, dimensional travel. And that's where also people like Michio Kaku or Steve Hawkins have to rethink outside of the box. It is not about a traveled distance. It is about a coordinate and a projection in a time and space quadrant that's to be known and embodied and felt. And then you can project yourself there and become it. For those who don't know what that means, to project your existence into another vessel, into another system, watch the movie John Carter. It flopped, but this movie is probably channeled. Original title, Princess of Mars. It's 150 years old, that storyline. Ever wonder how a guy 150 years ago can bring that in as a sci-fi novel? And when you watch the movie, it's gonna really rattle your chain what you will see of who is in the mix. So we believe that there's been races that disguise themselves as what you call angels in the mix. Some disguise themselves as gods, saying you gotta pray to me. Pick their prophets, those who were actually suitable for the manipulation. Not all should have been manipulated. It was not all in agreement of the Council of the High Ones. And you can say in the Ophanim sector, where this is the high angels, as in the hierarchy of the highest, you can say, developed humanoid species that can travel through time and space without hindrance. but the consequential action has something to do with superposition. And as in a superposition, we mean that different from the concept of quantum physics. We mean superposition as in where you are right now, that's where your consciousness is focused. And when you dream, your focus goes into parallel lives or parallel possibilities. For those who want to study that, also we suggest Dolores Cannon. We all live parallel lives. Maybe in another life, this vessel is a mundane character, not in the outer space at all, and lives a very regulated life. Well, when timelines collapse within you and in the system, you will actually become that what you were actually born here to do, to go interstellar. And in order to accelerate the process, we have something as a meta program, which is called the Ascension process, which is way past 2012, way past of what you consider a Mayan calendar, which is an extraterrestrial, or you can say extra-dimensional interpretation of the merging of the two hemispheres in one. This will be the convergence. This would mean that actually the mind, body, and soul has to become phase conjugate, meaning in full harmony with the selves in all aspects of the selves, of the cells, with all communication. And then you become avatar, and that avatar signature will be seen by the ships that hover in the air in fifth dimension, where you can't see them. Not all of them are cloaked. Some are dimensionally parked where you need your consciousness developed enough to see them. That has to do with vibrational matching, meaning if enough people can see them, the rest will see them. But there's still cases where you can be in a place, in a space, where somebody sees a ship and the other one won't see the ship, simply because they vibrationally do not match. How is that an experiment that we did on Earth have been proven? I can give you an example of myself when I was 18 and I studied to be a computer VCR technician, and I was sent into the workroom to get certain specific tools and cable. I didn't have in my mind what the tools look like or the cable, so I'm standing in front of that great wall, cable hanging in front of me, tools on the side, and I can't see them. I literally do not know what to bring to my boss. Now imagine us humans, we're trained in the same way. If we're not trained to perceive a certain thing, we don't see it. They tested that with the famous game with the basketball players. Put 10 in a row, and they all toss a ball. You know, they all toss and catch and toss and catch. And you as an onlooker, you look at this. I mean, now I'm giving you the secret, but it's been tested before this was revealed, so spoiler alert. So what you watch is a 5-minute play of them tossing the ball. You're looking at 10 people, they all toss the ball, okay? And then after 10 minutes, they say, well, what did you see? So the regular people, the regular muggles, just saw them tossing balls. The people that had somewhat of a developed wakefulness saw a guy in a gorilla costume running between them across the field halfway through the movie. So you have to ask yourself, why is it the other group did not see that? Because the sensory overload came in because they were not trained for a hypersensory perception. So hence the gorilla and the costume dude was there, but in their mind it wasn't, so they didn't perceive it. So the same thing as in ships that you can't see, you heard about it, but you're not convinced enough, so it doesn't exist for you. Plus you are convinced with your 5 senses to watch everything else that proves to you that it doesn't exist, so it is. But when that changes and you get into the HSP, hypersensory perception, you'll be amazed the little things that you will see. Meaning, I mean, you've seen that in a series, Heroes, where a guy has a hypersense, almost autistic. He sees a biker, he sees the biker drop, and then he sees the linearity and the time stream connected, the biker dropping, persons stumbling over the biker, a tin can rolling across the street, a car hitting the brake, a car behind the car hits the brakes, another car runs into that car, a person in the second car spills the coffee, he's on the phone with a deal that would influence something and call it a butterfly effect, like with a serious deal. Pours the coffee over the phone, the conversation is locked, he opens the door, he's pissed. While he opens the door, a biker comes down the road and slams into the door. That's called a chain reaction of extremes that meet. And when your hypersensory perception is activated, you can see that. That means you can look at a fly, and it's been reported in the 50s of people on psychedelics, they had these experiences. They look at the fly and they could say stop, and the time stopped. And then you can say telemetry access, please show me the focal point, and extreme measures of molecule structure, wind action, and everything. Like, you have to know what to ask with these access codes. And then they see a line where the fly would actually fly, break, and take a turn and take off, and they would see little dots. They would see the program. They could do that with water. So we have kids that naturally have so much DMT, that is, they are their own psychedelic mechanisms without the substance. But in the future, you won't need that. You just have to be in an energetic field or on a ship, and you'll be completely activated. Now it's the training time to train yourself for hypersensory perception, to really open your mind up to, you are the time traveler, and you time traveling every day. That can mean, you know, one person drives from, I don't know, Arizona to LA, perceives it to be 6 hours, but in the mind it felt like 3 hours. Time is also perception. Time can be measured by the devices chronologically that you have created, by a mechanism that's kind of a little bit of an offset. Also notice the time frame that you have created is a 1260 time frame, 60 seconds and 12 hours. And it doesn't, interestingly, start with first, it starts in seconds. So you need a time base, one off of an unknown that you don't know. You're starting with the second to have a measurement. But in the Mayan calendar, and actually how the interplanetary systems work, we have a cosmic measurement, meaning that doesn't include a leap year. That shows you how off the Gregorian calendar actually is, because you know this, every 4 years the universe does not skip. Planets do not skip every 4 years. Every 4 years we need to, I don't know, still that day or steal that day or add that one day, so the clocks would actually work properly, which is showing you the illusion that you're living in. The 1260 time frame is an illusion. You're synchronized to that. If you synchronized internally to that, you're not really in the original time frame. The original time frame is knowing circadian rhythms, when the sun rises and when the sun sets. Know how the birds do it. Have you ever seen, you know, unless we're talking about nocturnal creatures, but regular, you eat with the day rising and declining. You work out with the day, working out in the morning, declining, you do less. When you find that rhythm, you find your rhythm. We're off throne with Wall Street and conveyor belt tactics in this here society. So the original time code is 1320, and you have to study that by studying the Mayan calendar and how the time templates and time chronicles actually intermingle and interlock. And when you look that the planets travel in a 13 and 20 time code, a friend of mine actually works on a clock that would show you the time quality and not the time quantity. I'm working with this guy together. We're still trying to find somebody who can develop that app for this Mayan watch. It will be built. There's a time code that we have found out by just observing that the time quality is more important than the time quantity. And then you can switch your watch from the quantity to quality time, and then see how many people will link to quality time, meaning when is the right moment to make a decision in the divine path. That also means when is the divine time for me to get in my car and to go to certain places. Not like, well, 4 o'clock I gotta be there. That's the old paradigm. But it can be by intuition completely off. Go back to the natives, as they would say, well, I'll see you when the moon has filled 2 times. I'll be coming and I'll be seeing you. And the shaman would sit there and watch the weather and look at the stars. And then one day the wind would be like coming from the west. He would smell the air. And then he would be like, it's time to get up. It sounds preposterous to us, but this is the old way of finding the rhythm with Gaia, finding the rhythm with you. But to run and say, well, 3 o'clock I got my yoga class, that is as far away from being spiritual and being in tune as you can imagine, because it's just another filed concept of an illusion of make-believe for that to be so. Meditation is you watching me, being in tune with what I'm saying, being coherent and listening to the words that I'm relaying to you, that I shall not repeat. And yes, that requires consciousness, it requires coherence, it requires consistency and reality. and real on real. Many actors have tried that, and Hollywood can't even handle that. See, as you can see, this is a one shot and a one take. You have to concentrate your streaming and how that comes in. So back to the topic is a time traveler. I would be strategically very, very careful and smart what programs holographically I would introduce to myself to bring myself into an understanding and understanding that I'm there, that I'm guarding myself, and I'm trying to do the best that I can, that the ascended version can meet the fallen version, as in the descended version, or as in the denser version of the self, of the selves. And the ultimate twin flame is what we believe, your higher self and you. And when that's unified in way in the future, so no alarm, you don't require a partner, really. When you have the love of the other half within, embodied within you, you are love. You attract many when that happens. That's the guru era and what happened in the past. And it's also have been misused. But to explore that, love yourself to the point that it's not required to have somebody that tells you every day that I love you, I need you, without you I will die, I cannot be. All adhesive contracts that the old ancient Niburians, aka Anunnakians, have created to trap you in a mind space and time dimension where you think it is so, and you continue on. You need to marry, you need to settle, this is what needs to be done, controlled breeding, all that is pre-programmed in your chromosomes, and you think you're having free will? Do you think that's air you're breathing? Well, think again. To develop free will is to get into avatar consciousness and free yourself from concepts and things that have been imposed on you. Know this, anything that you subscribe to more than 5 minutes is hypnotic. Anything that you subscribe to by sitting there and agreeing and letting it unfold, it becomes adhesive. That's called adhesive contracts. That's why a lot of Hollywood, phonywood businesses make their business by selling you the illusion, you agreeing to it, and you fall back. We also predicted the minute for the children and the indigos and the millennials, magic comes in and you learn how to establish contact with otherworldly beings and otherworldly craft to expand your mind and actually go home where you need to be going. Entertainment industry will really be less activated and accessed. It is a crutch for you to develop that. How would it be to be in different worlds? How would I act? What would I do? And what's the purpose? Let's say you play a war game and then you played 50 million war games. At some point it is guaranteed, even if the craziest obsessed PlayStation gamer with wars, you will become tired. Because your consciousness will understand, well, shooting and conquering and owning and stacking material, what's the end of it? What's the task here? What are we actually winning at the end of the day? And when your consciousness comes to these terms, will contact you, will appear. So I'm speaking for me and I'm speaking for them. When you say me, hear me say we and me, that is, like I said, don't be irritated by that. It hovers in. It's a conscious thing. Until the consciousness is fully accepted, I hover between, the two to bring them in, to make them one, and doing my best and working on it to make that one. So time travelers would naturally look like we're dressed in a uniform. We will have a color code. We will have an insignia so we can differentiate how this is going on. We also believe that in the past, EBs, extra biological entities, died because their time devices and time modulators have been removed. They got dense in an environment that is not really made for them, and they begin to fade out because the consciousness would no longer hold the vessel, or the vessel would no longer hold the consciousness. Down here you would say died, but we retract the consciousness for safety purposes and then let the vessel wither. Also, as the unveiling begins, it is now decreed by the high councils of light that certain pockets of time capsules in Earth will be unearthed by people. You will find remnants of what you call the typical three-fingered extraterrestrials, which is already taking place and being investigated. No longer will that slip through the cracks or be covered up. There will be many stations and many findings in chambers that used to be empty, and they are now filled because dimensionally Earth is developing its own program of self-realigning software that has to activate you as you are being slowly prepared for contact. That is inevitable, that will be inevitable, and it will take place. So the future trend will be contact groups, coaching groups, mental groups, life groups, getting life together, getting business together, moving your business to cyberspace, going into the immaterial realm to really understand what that means to be in integrity and to deliver goods and purposefully create what the planet really needs as in planetary repair, and consciously embody that and carry that within your vessel and in your soul. So the time travelers are very cautious. They don't come with metallic craft. They come with interdimensional craft. The royal ones are usually crystalline or see-through or shimmer-through, ovalesque, silvery, shining. It is always a lovely when they show up. It's tears of joy. There's no fear. Abduction does not take place. Cattle mutilation not necessary, because the royal ones can come in here, scan the hologram with all molecule structure and resonate and replicate that without touching anything. So everything that needs cutting, touching and bleeding and all of this invading stuff is suspicious. Same if you find, at times we say landing gear prints in your backyard, that might be suspicious because the royal craft do not leave imprints as such. We more leave imprints that the flowers will actually grow 3 times the size. Your trees will grow 3 times the size. More kind of like a Hawaiian energy as we hover in grounds. If you find grounds where the grass doesn't grow that is suspicious, the craft from the royal time travelers is more like life enhancing, travels on light and love, a concept that you don't understand yet fully. That's what the zero field is unconditional love and unconditional surrender. And if we would hover over a space where we establish contact, guess what? Everything will grow exponentially. If we leave footprints, out of our footprints, flowers would bloom, seeds would basically explode into life, like the green around a riverbed. That's when you know you're safe. That's when you know you're with royals and you're in good hands and you're making contact. And we're trying our best to establish contact with everybody. And the contact is physical. It's just we're giving you the templates that you are less distorted and less discouraged from facing us, because you've been programmed in the past by what to fear. That you can say Warner Brothers develops a extraterrestrial. Back then his name was UX-23, Roman outfit, black face, disintegrator weapon. And in the future, these cartoons kind of spread throughout television, telling lies and vision. Know what you're watching. And the revealer will be the internet, not TV. And might I add, then the people that laugh about it will say, well, who do you think your pyramids were built by? Squidly Diddly or the Martian? Because they have the image in their mind that TV has programmed them to believe in when they were young, not knowing it. So they're regurgitating a slave program that works wonderful when you regurgitate that. So when you are in hate, in fear, you use negative examples to make fear installments and disbelief. We know that is the Anunnaki and Draconian and hence Naburian programming to keep you dense and to keep you in the box. Those that free their mind will understand what we're saying, will understand the message that's being relayed, and the ambassadors won't be picked in the White House because that has been tried before. The ignorance and the height of the egos that the time travelers were faced with and have met are, you can say, what word should we use to not offend? Like, it would not resonate. So now, contact groups in the field, people that are not so famous, will be picked. A handful in the beginning, and bases such as retreat centers, landing platforms, landing arrays will be established all over the planet. First, we will call them art projects, so you're not so discouraged. We will create places like the Burning Man, so you don't think it's so suspicious, but preferably we will pick these nice spots where people get along, open up to your utopian way, and are ready to switch for a new earth. And this will take place, and it'll be fantastic, and it'll be glorious. And as you can see that the old structures, as the snake is eating its own tail, takes itself apart, yes, you are winning. Yes, you're processing, and yes, you're progressing. More and more people understand what is fake and what is real, understand what's fabricated and what is real. You will meet people on camera, you will meet people off camera, make the equation. A lot of people in cyberspace still have a pretentious lifestyle that is not the real deal. In the future, you will see that what's to be established is the realness and the fantastic cosmic realms to open for you, and dimensionalities in your brain in oneness, so you can unify as an intergalactic race, being human, as in light man manifests in the vessel, representation of the source, and no more splitting of different religions. They all claim their God is the one. It all stems from the source. The other gods that came in were the Anunnaki, presenting themselves as false gods. Call them demigods, call them what you will, creating lots of havoc, disguising themselves as angels, influencing people, telling their so-called prophets what religions to create. And when the unfolding begins, you will all actually will remember this is created from one platform. There's one unified source that is more feminine in its nature, and science has shown you that the first 11 days of the fetus is feminine. Then it's determined what gender. In the future also, you will give birth to beings where there is no gender specification possible anymore. They will still be humanoid, but you'll be very irritated in the beginning. You might be xenophobic, as in trying to say this shouldn't be, or this is not under God, that this is well under the source, well planned, because you all are angelic, you all are androgynous in your high operandus, and the human operation system gets its upgrade, receiving that, and this is the message that we wanted to transmit to you. So these upgrades are coming. You're in line, you're doing great. We are very proud of you, and each one of you in the light that holds the energy without following a doctrine, that creates and generates a field for all to follow and for all to be in, and that paves the way for the coming of the many. Many are here, many are waiting to reveal themselves when you're ready to see them as such. And trust me, gnomes are real, the elves are real, mermaids are real, but it's all interdimensional, and to capture them on a regular camera is difficult unless they decide themselves to manifest. And real will be real when you see them up close, as you can see me. And first contact is that the extraterrestrials, as in starseeds in human form, that remember that they're from another planet, are meeting themselves in peace. And second contact is when we come to the party and your children come to the party, and we can live together. The timeline is indefinite because the consciousness is a little bit of a stubborn beer, you know what I'm saying? So we wait for the time when we all come into mutual agreement and we all speak one language, and telepathy comes up in even more, and you understand emotionally and empathically that you're all connected and you're all one. On that note, we say peace, and the flip side is the side that we come from, the merge with this side. That's why we always say, I most certainly will see you on the flip side. Peace.